In this video, we're going to talk about systems of linear inequalities. And all this means is that we have more than one linear inequality that we're graphing. So on our same graph that we were working with before, we're going to graph x is greater than 2. So here's my graph. I'm going to add to that graph x greater than 2. So here's the graph. Again, we have a vertical line here because it's an x equals equation. And we notice that instead of having a solid line, we now have a dotted line. So when it doesn't have the equal to line underneath, what it does in the graph is it makes a dotted line instead of a solid line. And that means that the line itself is not included. So points on this dotted line would not be included in x greater than 2 because x is equal to 2 on the dotted line. And so x is not greater than 2. So the line is dotted instead of solid. Next, we're going to identify 3 points that are in the shaded area of x is greater than 2, but not in the shaded area of y is less than or equal to 3. So in the shaded area of x is greater than 2 is going to be this green area over here. And we want it to be not in the shaded area of y is less than or equal to -3, so not in the blue shaded area. So some examples of points would be 4, 2, 4, 4. We could also have 4, -2. So all of those would be points, and I can move this a little bit to see some more. All of those would be points that are included in x greater than 2, but not y is less than or equal to -3. Identify some of these points here. And again, there are many more points that you could identify as well. Now we want to identify 3 points that are in the overlap of the shaded areas. And this is where I am solving my system. So the overlap of the shaded area is going to be points that cover both inequalities. And so solutions to the system of inequalities are in that overlap of the shaded area. So unlike when we just have lines where we're looking at a single point as the solution to the system, now we have a shaded area that's the solution to the system. So some of these points would be 4, -4, 6, -4, 8, -6, for example. Those are points that are in the overlap of the shaded areas. So for those points, it's true that x is greater than 2, and it's also true that y is less than or equal to -3. So now we're going to clear those graphs and graph some different equations. X minus y is less than 1 is going to be the first one. And then my second equation is 2x plus 3y greater than or equal to 12. So here's my graph. Now for each line, we want to identify 2 points on the line that you could use to draw the graph. So I'm going to start by identifying points on the first line, which is x minus y less than 1. So that's my purple line here. So if I click on or near the line, then I'll get some points that show up. So I could see that the point 0, -1 is a point and 1, 0 is another point. I also have this point where the 2 lines cross at 3, 2. So we only need 2 of the points. 0, -1, and then this one at 1, 0. And then for my second line, 2x plus 3y is greater than or equal to 12. That's the black line. So click on the black line, I'll get some points. 0, 4, and 6, 0 are going to be 2 points on the black line. And again, we notice that the black line is a solid line because we have greater than or equal to. The purple line is a dotted line because it's less than, not less than or equal to. And that's what we see in our graph. Question 8 says, where do the lines cross? So I can see that that point is here at 3, 2. And question 9 says, where do the shaded areas overlap? So describing this is a little bit difficult. You could say sort of in the top part of the X. It's going to be in this sort of triangle-shaped area up here. So I'll say above the X. Right? We're going to go through another example here of the same kind of thing. This time we have these two equations. 2x minus 5y less than or equal to 10 is my first one. And then my second equation is 3x minus 2y greater than 6. Those are my two lines that I can see in my graph. For each line, we're going to identify, again, 2 points. And we're doing this because this is helpful in terms of making the graphs in the MyLab problems. You're going to need to graph the lines yourselves. And in order to do that, you're going to need to be able to identify points on the lines. So that's why this is helpful. So my first line here, 2x minus 5y less than or equal to 10 is the red line. So we have some points here at 0, negative 2, and 5, 0. And we note that that is a solid line. For my second line, 3x minus 2y greater than 6. That's the blue line, which is a dotted line. And I can see that I have points at 0, negative 3, and 2, 0. Where do the lines cross? This one, the point where they cross is not as nice, so I'll just write that 0.90909 is the x-coordinate of that point, and the y-coordinate, negative 1.63636. And finally, where do the shaded areas overlap? So in this one, our x is a little more smushed, but we can see that we have overlap in sort of in the upper right area of the graph. So the upper right side of where the two lines cross.